Hi everybody, delighted again to be joined by Augusta of Higson. If you haven't seen the full interview, there's some really good stuff in there, so make sure you go and click on that after watching this. So this is our 210X section, 2 productivity tips from our guests. Right, over to you, Augusta. What's your first productivity tip for the audience?
My first one is a bit of a controversial one, because I know some people don't believe this, but don't multitask. It is a myth. We can't multitask. It's called task switching. What you're doing is you're switching very quickly between 2 tasks, but it actually takes 60 seconds of brain activity to switch between 2. So the first thing, do not multitask. Focus on one thing at a time. Close everything else down and do one. Finish it and then move on. I know it can be very hard to do, but really just moving away from that multitasking mindset and focus one thing at a time. And the second thing is don't do a to-do list. So two controversial things. And what I mean by that is absolutely do a mind dump. So get everything out and write it in a long list. And absolutely, you know, my first step would be to do that. So you'll see I've done one here, but that is not an effective list. What that is that's called a mind dump. Do that. And then you have to put some structure around it. Decide what you're going to do today, tomorrow, in a week, in a month. I might have 2 things on that list, one thing that needs to be done by the end of the day, one thing that's a pipeline dream for a year's time. It makes absolutely no sense to have them in the same list. Our brain cannot compute them. It cannot work out what to do, and you go into freeze mode. So get rid of making a list and actually just decide 3 things you're going to do today and put the rest, schedule it into your calendar or write it on a separate list or block it in somewhere else.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to co-sign the first one, absolutely, because I used to be a terrible supposed multitasker, and I absolutely agree. I think we can't focus on multiple things at the same time, and actually it's just to the detriment of all the tasks. I'm going to pose a little question on the second one then. So I was reading an article recently about how sort of all hours in the day aren't equal for us in terms of our energy and our kind of chronotypes and everything like that. So when you have these tasks, how do you then go about, you've like you say, had this kind of like mind dump, you've come up with the 3 key tasks. What do you then do with those 3 in terms of scheduling your day? How do you plan that out?
Brilliant. Well, for those who are listening, it depends what you are. Either you're a lark, you're an owl, or a third bird, according to Dan Pink. There's different categories of them, but that one is the most recognized. Most people are third birds, and what that means is you're most productive between 9 and 11. So that's the time when you should block in and do your focus tasks, your ones that take that kind of a bit more brain power, a bit of thinking. Then you're going to have a really bad dip. At around 2:55, you are going to be very unproductive. So schedule a walk then if you can, a walking meeting with the team member. So obviously you might be on the phone with them and go for your walk yourself, or potentially a creative task or something there, or just take a break. But 2:55, don't try and struggle through something. You are going to be unproductive at that time. There is a dip. To avoid it, take small regular breaks throughout the day. You think you don't have time to take a break, you do not have time not to take a break. Because what happens if you don't take a break is you go into that dip and you spend about 2 hours being unproductive in the day rather than lots of 5 minutes throughout the day. And in those breaks, if you take effective breaks, your brain re-energizes and can come up with creative ideas. And then in that sort of afternoon, we peak back up. That's when you can do some of your creative tasks. So let's say you want to review a proposal and look at it in a slightly different way. Let's say you want to design something, then you want to do that more in the afternoon, because that's when your brain's more creative. That is for that's about 78% of the population will follow that. If you know you're a lark or an owl, then it's flipped slightly differently for owls, and then larks just shifts a bit earlier. But you can do a test and find out.
Amazing, brilliant. Some really good actionable advice there in terms of those 2 tips. So brilliant. Thanks very much again, Augusta, for joining us.
Thanks very much, Sean.